Hi everybody, Heather here. I want to thank you for your patronage on this Mental Health Talk Hub Patreon page. Appreciate everything. Just a little bit of an update. This was supposed to come out Tuesday. It's episode 3 of Writing Your Own Mental Health Memoir. It's a little bit delayed, a lot of stuff going on, and it's a different format. I'm just going to talk about the subject today. Quick update, we're kind of mid-cycle with how Patreon bills, so unfortunately you will be receiving your pledge will go through on April 2nd because it's at the end of a billing period, but I'm pausing it so indefinitely, and all the material here is still available, so you can always go online and check it and go through past posts. I will be posting, but it won't be as often. I've got elderly parents, I have grandkids, I have 3 grown children. My husband's work has closed down, and I am self-employed, and I sell things mostly to the Ontario school system, which is out for the moment, and probably, from what I've heard, might be more than the 2-week period. So a lot of things going in my life personally. So I'm going to change the format this week. I don't really have the inclination or the time right now to do the usual video where I have the voice and then all the different effects and slides and stuff. But the information is still the same. So this week we were going to talk about different ways to publish. Last week we talked about how to get started, what to do, mistakes that you can do in writing that you should look for. And this week we're going to talk about the 4 main ways that you can actually publish your work. And the one I'm going to start with first is traditional publishers. And then next week I'll tell you the pros and cons for each. So traditional publisher, I own a traditional publishing company called Winter Tickle Press. So I'm quite familiar with this methodology. How it works with them is you would send them your manuscript or a query letter with maybe a chapter or 2 or an outline. You can find information about what traditional publishers want in a resource called Writer's Market. 2020 is the most recent version of it. They usually come out with one every year. And it will tell you who to address it to, whether they prefer it by email or whether they prefer it to be sent in. And now if your life has been affected and you're at home quite a bit because of this COVID-19 situation, it might be a time to try to do something creative and maybe consider submitting to a traditional press. So what a traditional press does is they will read your manuscript and they will decide whether it fits what they publish, whether they think they can sell it, and they will either reject it or accept it. The advantage of this is when they accept something, they take full responsibility for it. So the traditional press then would be in charge of design, editing, printing, marketing, so you as an author pay 0. If you talk to someone from a traditional publishing company or someone who says they are a traditional publishing company and they ask you for 1 cent, they're not a traditional publishing company, and I would advise you to run away if you are looking for traditional. So what happens is they will take your manuscript, they'll develop it, they'll offer you a contract, and the standard rate of royalty that they will offer is 10%. A lot of times it's paid once a year. Some will do it quarterly, some every 6 months. And it's on a case by case. So that's something that sometimes is up for negotiation. They usually have pretty good distribution channels, so that's another thing to consider with traditional. The other thing that I like about traditional publishers is they will only take on a project that they feel passionate about or think they can sell. So a lot of times you may think your writing is fantastic and you may think your story is good, and it is for you or your circle, but whether or not it has mass appeal, a traditional publisher will be able to kind of give you more information on that. So that's kind of the route with a traditional publisher. It's really good if you have like no money to invest yourself, and it's also good if you want another party to kind of validate what you're writing, etc. Make sure when you do submit something to a traditional publisher that you take the time to find out that it's an appropriate one. If you're sending something about your PTSD memoir to, say, a children's publisher, it's not going to go over well and it wastes their time and your time. So the second way is what they call vanity presses. And this is only my personal opinion, but I don't like them. What they do is they offer you a package. So you go to them and they might say, for $2,000, we'll do your cover, we'll do your editing, and then for another $2,000, we'll do all your marketing, and we will get your book out there. So from what I've heard from people that have gone this route, this is what sometimes happens. Their editing department isn't all that thorough. From what I've heard, the design is good and the printing is good, but they're making a profit off that. So my thought is, if you're going to pay, you'd be better to subcontract people to do this because there wouldn't be the same markup. So that's the thing that I don't like about them, and some of them even prey on people. They will go onto social media and find out that you're interested in writing, and they will ask even for a sample and tell you how good it is, and it's a standard letter, and they're just trying to get you to pay for it. So I'm not a fan of what they call vanity presses because they do that. They play on people's desire to be published or your vanity, and they exploit you. And again, this is opinion. But that's my thought on that. And then there's something called self-publishing, which anybody can do. So basically, you write your book. It's a good idea to subcontract a really good editor from, say, Canadian editors. And then I would subcontract out someone to do the layout and the design. I'm going to talk more about that next week because a lot of people think they're really good editors, or high school teachers with a degree in English think they know how to typeset. I was a teacher with a degree in English, and until I got into this business, I realized how much I did not know. And as someone in the business, when I pick up a book, I can tell right away if it's self-published. So, but the thing with self-publishing is that there's no barrier to entry. You can go through Kindle Direct, it's called. You can do ebooks, you can do regular books that they'll print on demand, and you'll get a higher royalty. So instead of 10% from a traditional publisher, you might make 40%. The trouble is you don't have quite the same distribution, and you're doing a lot of the work yourself, and you might have to pay someone to help you. So depending on how much you sell, that can be a good way. You also, if you use Kindle Direct, they'll give you, you can get ISBNs, or you can get your own ISBN for free from the Library of Canada. So that's not a barrier, but you have to know how to do that. And there's barcodes and stuff that you need to work on too. And finally, there's what is called a hybrid press, and it's just kind of popped up in the last few years. It's kind of like a traditional press in that they will do the editing and stuff, but they split the cost with you. And you don't get any royalties, at least with some of them, and they all have different setups. You don't get any royalties until they get their money back for the printing, half the printing, because you pay for half of it. But then the full profit, you end up splitting 50-50. So from what I understand, your expenses are split 50-50, but then in the profit after they're paid back, you get 50-50. A lot of people seem to like this. I need to talk to someone who's actually done it. I don't know that it's a great deal for you, just because, again, why wouldn't you self-publish? Because then you would get 100% of your profit. If you're paying money up front, I don't know. But a lot of people have had good luck with them, and some very famous people use a hybrid called Page 2. So I think there are some very reputable ones. I certainly like them way more than vanity presses. So, just personally, it's sort of what you want. And it's hard to sell books. I'm going to be upfront. It's hard to sell books. But if you're a speaker, and right now nobody is, but if you're a speaker and you are able to self-market, self-publishing might be the best way to go, because you might have the potential to make the most money. If you're not sure and sales aren't your thing, maybe lean more towards traditional press. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, Send them my way. Be safe, practice social distancing, and stay well. And after the April payment goes through, all payments are suspended. Thank you. Bye.